Started. Okay, hi, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of People in the News in North Texas. My guest today is Colonel Alan West, a candidate for the Republican nomination for governor of Texas. As you might have seen in the news recently, his wife, Angela West, who had just finished dinner at a Dallas restaurant and was on her way home with her 3-month-old grandson in the rear seat, was arrested in Dallas on suspicion of driving under the influence. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm retired from the New York Police Department, having worked as a cop for 20 years, and I have some experience making arrests for DWI. Colonel West, when were you notified that your wife had been arrested? When you were notified, did you immediately go to the police precinct and attempt to see her?
Well, it's good to be with you, Bob. Had just gotten back from Waco, Texas, between 9:30 or so. And my youngest daughter called. She was very frantic because she had just been informed about going to pick up her son off the side of the road there, Northwest Highway. And she explained to me the situation. And the thing is that I never got any type of contact to know where my wife was. I just had to try to do a reverse, analysis of it, and finally come down to realize that she was down at the Dallas County Jail on 111 Commerce, the Lou Sterrett Tower.
And I understand that you went there and they didn't let you see your wife. You weren't allowed to see her.
Well, I went there first and foremost, and they told me they had no record of her being there. And I gave them her name, her birth date, and they said she's not here. And then they gave me another address, some Dallas detention center. So I go over to that detention center. She's not there. So I went to the Dallas Police headquarters there on Bonham Jean Road. And of course, the lobby was closed. So I'm standing outside on a speakerphone trying to talk to someone to ascertain where my wife is. They said they had computer issues and what have you, but they did finally get the computer working and located my wife there at the Lou Sterrett. So I went back there and they finally admitted that they had my wife. And, I asked for, not just the desk person that was there, I asked to see a supervisor. They said, no, you can't see a supervisor. I asked, well, I know that my wife was at dinner with a friend who was an attorney, and I've already talked to the attorney. My wife only had water and lemonade at dinner. Can you please allow me to speak with my wife or see my wife or something? She said, no, we don't do that. That's not protocol and procedure. So everyone talks about protocol and procedure, but I just don't like this fact where someone is treated absolutely guilty before there is any, charges or anything have been done. And my wife, who was a Brooklyn girl, my wife has never been pulled over, never, I don't think even had a speeding ticket or anything like that. She drives too slow, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Well, that's like my wife. I can attest to that too. And if my wife was arrested one night, and I would be livid about it myself because I couldn't imagine it happening. But anybody would feel that way when a loved one is arrested. This happened at night. It must have been 10 o'clock at night.
No, it was later than that. It was later than that. I was finally able to get a phone call. Obviously, they put her in some holding or some general population. I don't know where she was, but there was a phone on the wall where you could make the collect call. And unfortunately, when it first comes in, it says potential spam on my call. And this was a little bit after 1 o'clock in the morning. And then it came back again. I finally said, maybe this is Angela. So I picked it up and she was quite frantic. And she, began to let me know what was happening and kind of give me an orientation to where she was. But all through the night, I tried to talk to her. I mean, you only get about 4 to 5 minutes, on this public collect call, and then it's hung up. But I wanted her to know that I was there. I was supportive. I sat down there outside the Lou Sterrett Tower all through the night and all through the day until she was released Saturday morning at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be frantic too. I think anybody who had gone through something like this would certainly make you feel helpless, that you can't do anything, you can't reach out to them, you can't see them. Of course, there are rules there are rules that everybody has to comply with, and I'm sure that they have to follow the rules, and not everybody can just go in and see the person who was arrested. Probably in most cases until arraignment. By the way, was she arraigned?
Yeah, she was arraigned Saturday morning. And when she went before the magistrate, that's when they charged my wife with driving while intoxicated with a minor child. Because like I said, she was with our 3-month-old son. We have released since then the proof that she only had water and lemonade. We put out the receipts from her dinner that night. And then also Monday morning, she went and got a full toxicology test done. And that goes back 80 hours. So that covered the period of when she was quote unquote arrested. And there was nothing in her system, no alcohol, no drugs, nothing whatsoever. And so, Bob, I just find it very disconcerting that my wife was arrested and charged for something based upon speculation. They never had any evidence of it whatsoever. And many experts in the DUI field have called me from here in Texas, from around the country, and they saw a video of that field sobriety test. And they said, first and foremost, it was done improperly. And secondly, my wife was not intoxicated. She was not impaired. She passed everything. And then, of course, when she breathed into the breathalyzer, actually, she blew in 4 times. They edited that video and only showed 3 times, but they said it came up inconclusive. But my wife was never told that it was inconclusive at the spot. She was just told, you're being arrested. And
yeah.
So,
I want to mention that also, because when I watched the video, I felt that the officer had probable cause for stopping the vehicle. Anybody could see it was swaying into the shoulder of the road and then back into the right lane. But I got to say that after seeing the field sobriety test with your wife walking the straight line, standing on 1 foot with arms out to the side, blowing into the breathalyzer. I saw 3 times. You said it was 4 times. And there was no indication that it registered any impairment. Honestly, I was shocked when I saw the next move was the officer putting handcuffs on her and placing her in the radio car. I feel, and by the way, your wife was respectful and cooperative throughout the test. Her speech appeared to be clear. And I tell you, given the stressful situation, I think she did remarkably well. But having said that, I feel it's important to add that I wasn't there. So I don't know what the officer may have perceived in your wife's demeanor that wasn't clear on the video. Police officers are often second guessed by people who weren't present at an incident and they have no experience in law enforcement. And that's why we have trials and so forth.
Well, the affidavit was released from the police officer to get the warrant for the blood test. And this is what the police officer's affidavit said, that she sensed an odor of alcohol. Well, first of all, if my wife had not been drinking, I don't know how there could have been an odor of alcohol. She saw a McDonald's cup in the console and she felt that there was alcohol in that McDonald's cup. Well, she could have very easily picked up the McDonald's cup. She could have sniffed it. She could have taken away for testing, because the only thing in that McDonald's cup was high C orange lava blast from McDonald's. That's what my wife had.
And the officer didn't take that for examination?
No, did not take it for examination.
That was wrong.
Didn't smell it or anything. The officer also said that my wife was not crisp and that her hair was messy. Well, spend most of a day with a 3-month-old and you know what happens with your hair. Then the other thing the officer said was that my wife had wet spots on her clothing. Well, a 3-month-old sometimes regurgitates their milk. That's just something that happens. And so that's where that came from. So again, I will say that, why are you arresting someone when you really don't have the evidence to substantiate what you're arresting them for? We cannot be arresting people based upon speculation. And that's exactly.
Sure, I agree. Oh, I agree. And it's a very serious charge. And with
it's a state felony charge.
It's a felony, yeah, with it because the child was in the car. Anyway, let me get to this. Early in the morning after your wife's arrest, you made a video and put it on social media. You showed receipts from the restaurant that indicated your wife only had lemonade and water with her dinner. Obviously you were upset, but it was a controlled upset, and but you were making some statements that like Gestapo tactics you used describing how your wife was arrested. Had you seen the body cam video prior to making that statement?
No, sir. I've been married to my wife for 32 years. My wife is the daughter of a United States Army Vietnam veteran. She's the husband of a combat veteran. I'm going to take the word of my wife. And I think that when you look at that video, you can see that my wife was absolutely accurate. You know, she admitted she crossed the lane without using a turn signal. She drifted over. Well, then give her a citation. As she said in that video, give her a citation for that. But to make this leap and bound, talking about my wife was driving while intoxicated, my wife is not someone that's going to drive intoxicated with her 3-month-old grandson in the backseat.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to tell you, you know, when I was, as I said, when I watched this thing, I was amazed when I saw the cuff. The cuffs came out after what I saw was a person who was handling herself very well, certainly given the circumstances. You know, I don't know if I'd be able to stand on one foot with my arms out and for any period of time without, you know, falling over. So, you know, and I'm saying that, you know, even if you were totally cold sober, that might not be so easy to do. And I saw that, but she was going through the paces, quite a few paces. And to me, in my judgment, just based on what I saw, I wouldn't be making that arrest.
And this is also, Bob, a woman that recently had a brain aneurysm surgery done.
Yes.
Right behind her right eye. And it is amazing to me that for whatever reason, they said it's because of medical history, they edited that out from the video that they released, because my wife explained that to the officer before she was asked to stand on one leg, to let her know that she probably might not be able to do that.
So they edited parts of that video before they released it.
Absolutely. Oh. If you look, you did not see any exchange between the officer and my wife when the officer first came up to the vehicle. Nothing there whatsoever. And so I think that full story needs to be told.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with that. Let me ask you. You also on one of the videos, you demanded that the Dallas mayor, police chief, and district attorney come to your home and apologize to your wife and family. Did you really expect that was going to happen?
You know, I understand leadership, and the leadership that I grew up in the Army is that you go and you admit your mistakes and you humbly present yourself to a person that you may have wronged. My wife had to spend the entire night and half of the day in their house, the big house down there at Dallas County Jail. So I don't think it's a lot of me to ask for them to come to the house where my wife is, and also where my grandson spends some time, and apologize to them face to face. And so that's not something out of the ordinary. If we are to believe that our public law enforcement officers are here to serve and protect us, I don't see why that was a tough thing to expect.
Okay, well, did that happen?
No.
No. Well, what if now you're still waiting for a blood test results?
Well, they're waiting for a blood test results. Like I said, Monday morning, my wife went down and got a full toxicology report.
Was that a urine test?
Yes, urine test. It went back 8 hours, and that's already been released to the media. And it shows that there are no drugs, no alcohol in my wife's system.
Yeah. Well, then you still have to wait for the blood test because I think that's the final determination if there was anything there. But
here's my issue. Here's my issue, Bob, in us waiting. My wife, who was arrested and charged without any evidence whatsoever of a state felony case. Now, my wife has to go down and, within a few days, she has to daily submit herself for a breathalyzer test. She has to put a tracking device in her car. And to me, that's a full violation of her due process. That's a full violation of her Fourth Amendment rights. Until some blood test comes back, because again, there was no evidence of my wife doing anything wrong. As a matter of fact, we're the only ones that have produced evidence in this case that shows that my wife should be fully exonerated, the charges should be dropped, and her record should be expunged. We have proven and we have shown that evidence. So why are we sitting around waiting and my wife is still having to be treated as if she's guilty? I thought that we lived in a country where we were innocent until proven guilty.
Okay, well, after the arraignment, was a trial date set?
Nothing, because right now, the Dallas Police Department, they can end this thing. They don't have to send it going forward for a grand jury hearing or anything like that. They can end it. And right now, I think that everyone sees that they don't have the evidence to send this case forward. They should.
Well, how do they end it? Do they just annul the arrest?
Yeah, they just drop the charges. They're not going to go forward.
But, okay, but
That decision can be made
if
by.
that happens, I would imagine you have a pretty good case for a lawsuit,
Absolutely.
because she was arrested, and that's a well, that's a tough thing for anybody to go through, and you know, to be taken in like that, handcuffed and put in a police car. I mean, you know, I would have had to have a little more than what I saw on that video. I just state that over and over because I just didn't see it. I didn't see any. That was the reason. She probably could have been given a ticket for the unsafe lane change or something like that.
And that's what she said. Give me a citation.
I just want to ask you also, you made some comment that you thought that your grandson being left guarded by two police officers put your grandson in danger. Why?
I don't know the police officers, Bob. Do you want your grandson to be left with someone that you don't know? And why was it so important that they had to rush my wife away? Someone that didn't show any threat or anything to any of those officers. Why could they have not just waited until my wife could identify our daughter and her husband to come and retrieve our grandson? And furthermore, here's the thing that you have to be considering. My grandson was in a 4-point restraint in the backseat of the car. My wife had the keys to the vehicle. With some of these vehicles, when the key gets too far away from the vehicle, it automatically shuts off and locks. Now, if it automatically shut off and locked, then how those police officers going to get in there with my grandson, who is then going to be locked in a car that's going to not have any air whatsoever, and it's going to overheat?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what their procedure is in a situation like that. I don't think the arrested person is taken away with the child at the same time. There must be.
No, you just wait. You just, what was it? What was the hurry to get my wife downtown?
In other words, they could have waited for a child protective agency.
No, they could have waited for the parents because they asked about the parents. They could have waited for the parents to show up while my wife was still there. That, you know, again, you know, are we serving the public or are we not? That's all I'm asking. This was no crime. There was no crime that was there. If my wife had changed lanes and caused an accident, I get it. I understand. But she changed lanes and you, without a signal, well, then just pull her over and then give her a ticket. And that's it. She wasn't speeding. She wasn't doing anything else wrong.
Yeah, well, I agree. It didn't look good. It didn't look good, but again, we're going to have to play this out because there's still, who knows what's going to happen with the blood test. I believe you when you say your wife would not have done that under the circumstances, but now
we've already proven that my wife was not drinking, number one, and then my wife went out and had a toxicology test that shows that at that time of the arrest, there was no drugs, there was no alcohol in her system. So we're the ones that provided that evidence. And so, you know, I got it. We got to sit around and wait for a blood test, but I think we already have very conclusive evidence of the innocence of my wife.
Well, the charge is a very serious one. As I said, when I was watching it, you know, from my police experience, I made several arrests for DUI, but when I did, there was no doubt that the person was inebriated. But again, it's always so hard to question the police officer on the scene because we're not seeing everything or feeling everything that person is going through. We're seeing a video. So I hope it turns out best for you and for Angela, because that's got to be a harrowing experience for you, for the whole family. It's
not just a harrowing experience for my wife Angela and myself and our family. It's an experience that no person here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area should ever have to go through. No person here in Texas. So I think one of the things that we have to do, and thank God that I have a platform that I can elevate this issue and people can pay attention to this issue, because maybe there's some systemic things that need to be looked at and changed, such as this Dallas DUI unit that is part of a state grant. What is the criteria for them to continue to get funding for this DUI unit? Is it a criteria that they have to have X amount of DUI arrests? If that's the case, I think the public needs to know that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're not going to tell you that they have a quota system.
That's a FOIA request. Okay.
Yeah, well,
What's the standards? What's the standards and what's the criteria for this program? What's the standards and what's the criteria for you to receive funding from Texas taxpayers for this DUI unit? And I think that's a fair question that citizens should be asking.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree. It's a very serious charge, and no one should be taken away like that unnecessarily. And certainly we hope the best for you, for the family, and you're in our prayers. So I want to again thank you, Colonel West, for taking the time to do this interview, and we look forward to some better days hearing from you.
Well, this is a good day because we're on the high ground of facts and truth, and we're in a good position. And like I said, I want to be a voice not just for my wife and her honor and our family, but also to make sure that we're protecting all of the citizens here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, North Texas area, and also.
Sure. And if you are able to do that, you've provided a great service for all of us.
Service, sacrifice, and commitment.
Exactly. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.